Welcome to the Anna Aidoo Show. Today we have an exciting show. I've been smiling all week just thinking about this show and the two ladies that I'm sitting here with today. This has been a fun journey and it continues to be a fun journey, and I know it'll get even better as time goes on. The aim is to bring you to your best, to encourage you, to make you the best that you can be. Not what somebody can be, not what somebody says about you, but what you say about you. We're doing another one in the series of finding one's own courage. And as I was explaining to the ladies, it's important that we each find our own courage. Because without the courage, without our own courage, what good are we to anybody? See, I believe when I have my courage and you bring yours to mine, we become two people with serious courage, courage times two. And even if one person drops out, you can still continue the journey because there's more to discover. There's a life to be lived. But without courage, we cannot discover what's ahead of us. So this is a third in the series of finding one's own courage. And I'm telling you, I have this book here, 30 Ways to Better Days. I've been laughing ever since I read this book. I keep going back. I have a few dog ears in there, written by a lady, dynamic lady, Caird, who just, I don't know, but I'll just leave it up to her to talk about it herself. And then I have Odette here. I'm not sure how this lady did it, but she went from losing a job, losing both parents, things being upside down, into deciding that this is the time to start a business. What? Starting a business after you've gone through all of those things, I think that courage is awesome. It is only courage that takes us from the deep depths of life, from the dark days of our lives, into starting a business, into going back to school, into making your family run effectively, into everything that we do. So ladies, welcome to the Anna Aidoo Show.
Thank you.
And to finding one's own courage. And my, it's been a nice week for me, just thinking about some of the things we're going to talk about. Nothing is scripted here. We're just going to go with it. So
perfect.
First, I would like you, Caird, to tell us a little bit about you and your journey and your 30 Ways to Better Days, because I'm looking forward to it.
Well, my background is in television production.
Okay.
I was in television for 18 years. And about 8 years ago, I thought about what if I took what I know from the entertainment business, which is we can make it rain on a sunny day. I mean, we're very arrogant in the entertainment business. You can do whatever you like. So I thought, what if I took that concept and turned it into a coaching practice? So I went back to school 8 years ago and became a certified coach and opened my company, New Road. And since then, I've been working with execs and entrepreneurs and athletes and entertainers and all kinds of people, helping them achieve their goals. So we talk about the courage as being the base of this conversation.
Right.
That's essentially when I work with all my clients, it's how do you get past that fear threshold, which is that place where courage meets, the rubber meets the road in the courage department, right? So that's the goal as their coach.
Okay.
The book came from my own personal experience in terms of, because the book's called 30 Ways to Better Days, How to Rally After You've Been Dumped.
After you've been dumped.
So that's this particular book, the title of that book. So that came from my own personal experience and having been in that situation a few times. Okay. That I realized, it's just true. You can brag about these things. That's how you become an expert, right? You got to go through a few.
After you cry, now you become an expert.
A few times when you do that, it happens to you. So I realized I had a pattern of how to recover after breakups. So the last time it happened to me, I started to write it down, and the pattern that I was going through to recover. And after it was over, I thought, well, I think there's a book here because I know this to be true because I've made it work. So I wrote it all down.
I love it. I love the way, what I love is the fact that you went through things that are so devastating. And let's face it, many people go through such situations, breakups, and never recover.
Right.
I mean, I meet so many people that it's either, let's face it, breakups happen in family, even before we get to the boyfriend and the girlfriend stage, where sometimes mom disappoints you or dad disappoints you, then you go out there and you're dumped even more, So, and then if we don't watch it, our life becomes, start dumping ourselves because we've been dumped on so much. So the interesting I found, and I like what you said, how to rally after you've been dumped. I mean, dumped is serious. It's like garbage.
Well, you know,
So-
I'm very sorry.
Yeah,
to
go
interrupt
ahead.
you, but I just all of my coaching is very bottom line oriented.
Okay.
Like I don't fool around. It's not like it's not like a therapy session where you can talk about your woes for a long period of time. This is right into the meat and potatoes of how do we move forward. So that's why the title is very bold and right to the point. It's like, let's not pretend the guy's coming back. Let's not pretend it was a nice experience. You were dumped. Bottom line. Now what do you do about it, right? So that's the whole point. As soon as you start to accept the fact that this has happened to you, you can go after it.
I was reading a page to my family last night, and I was dying, of course. And they were looking at me like, and that part,
Yes.
where you said you have to rally a grief team.
The grief team, yes.
I thought that was amazing. And I like the way you broke it down into the days of the week. You said get 7 people. At least you have one person for a day. And by the end of the week, you're tired of hearing your own story.
Yeah.
I'm trying to understand how you got so practical about it. You know what I mean? Because you could have ideas in your head and somehow you just don't know how to break it down. But reading this book, you break it down so simple. Like, let's not get philosophical.
Yeah.
Let's not get all PhD about this situation. Let's just go Monday, Tuesday. How did you break it down so easy, like for even the basic reader to understand that?
Well, again, I think I just went back to personal experience. I knew, I think it's really easy to write a book when you're coming from what you know to be true.
True.
So I just wrote, and I have a very short attention span. Like so it had to be in like tip form for me. So because I don't like to read novels, so I want information. So I wrote it that way, and so it just came out naturally that it would be here's what you do on this day, here's what you do on that day, here's the next thing you want to do, and it's short and sweet. Also, people who are grieving have a very short attention span.
Right.
Because they can't focus.
Right.
So I wanted it to be a book that they could pick up and go, okay, chapter like boom. And it's 3 pages long and they've got their tip for the day, right? So it wanted to be like that for people who are in that frame of mind.
I think a lot of therapists are going to be so angry at you because this is it. This is it.
This is the elixir to everybody's life right here.
Like, I was watching a show, The Simpsons.
Yeah.
So this guy goes and he lies on the bed in the office of the therapist, and the therapist goes, so, 2 years bi-weekly visits for 2 years and you'll be fine. So the guy goes, but I don't have insurance. He goes, then you're healed.
Yeah, that's right.
So he runs out of the office. Marge, I'm healed. So a lot of people will be so mad at you because this is so practical.
They can save money on their therapy appointments.
They really could.
Yeah.
So Odette, talking about you and how you lost both parents within a short period of time, because I know my mom has been dead for like 10 years, and every once in a while I still cry. Then I read this book and I was like, get over it. Right? And you lost the job, and you still, in losing all of that, you still decided I can start a business. I'm still going on the fact that after you've gone through all that, your mind should be in left field somewhere. So talking about finding one's own courage, where did that come from?
Well, I was thinking about this the other day, and I was thinking, where does this courage come from? And because I was writing the intro to a book that I've just written. And although, like with your parents, my parents taught me determination, persistence, how to be audacious, tenacity, never give up attitude. That's what my whole life has been like. And that's the success, I think, of what I have, why I've accumulated the success that I've had in these last 45 years is because I never give up. And I looked back at when it all started, and I remember being 17 and just deciding that I'm going to go to Europe, and had a conversation with my dad, and he said, if you can't make it in 1 month, you have to come home. And I said, sure, that's the deal. And I came home 5 years later, and I was 17 years old.
When you were 17 years old when you left?
When I left.
Okay.
And so that was just sort of my platform for life, was just never give up. Okay. And you never know what's on the other end of something.
Right.
So when I lost my job, I ended up going back part-time and sort of as a house account, because at that moment I lost my job and I thought, this is my opportunity now to start a business. I wasn't sure what it was going to be. I had already had a business in the past for about 10 years, very successful. But I went back to the social services because I thought money really wasn't an object. And if you know anything about working in social services, you don't make a whole lot of money. Okay. You do it because you love it.
Right.
And I realized I loved helping people, but I needed to make a little bit more than $18 an hour. And
Right.
so I started working on a business and came up with coaching, and took about a year for that time. I was working part-time to explore the coaching world because I really didn't know a lot about it. And the program ended for where I was working.
Okay.
It ended in July. I took August to kind of regroup. September 1st I started, and I thought, yes, here I go, open up my doors, and
Money will walk through.
yeah.
Well, lie down and watch the money come.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, now what do I do? And my parents were older. They're in their 80s. And I thought, you always have in the back of the mind that you're always worried about that middle of the night call.
Right.
So I was on my way to Florida, and I getting ready to go. We were going to drive, and it was 6 a.m. The phone rang, and I just knew something wasn't right.
Right.
And it was my sister calling to say that my mom had fallen and broken her hip. And this was in October. So I opened up, Women on Top September 1st. It was about October 16th that I got this call. So that's when literally everything started to unravel. But I guess you go into autopilot. When you get dumped, you go into autopilot or something. Something happens. And I wanted that business so badly. I wanted that lifestyle. I didn't want to be an employee anymore. I sure as hell didn't want to make $18 an hour anymore because I just knew I was worth more.
Right.
So one thing led to another. Before I knew it, it was just like I was in, I wouldn't even say like the Twilight Zone. I didn't even know what was happening. All I knew was just every day I was just working on my business. And the whole online thing was new to me, so I was really learning that. And I was getting out there and trying to book speaking gigs and get clients and networking and all that stuff. In the meantime, come February, my dad had fallen and broken his hip. And my mom was, by this point, she was in a rehab hospital and then into long-term care, so she couldn't go home. So
that's between September and February.
October
and February.
Right. So actually, it was Valentine's Day that I got the call from my sister that my father had fallen and broken his hip. And it was on the day that he had decided, or I guess we decided, but he had decided that he didn't want to go into a long-term care or some type of retirement home because he was now alone, and he's 85 years old, and my mom wasn't coming home.
Right.
So he, don't know what happened. It was like 6 o'clock, and I got this call from my sister that my dad had fallen and broken his hip. Now they live in London, Ontario. So it's a 2-hour drive from Mississauga. So I kind of waited it out because I'd gone through the process with my mom going back and forth to the hospital every week, and it was just exhausting.
Right.
And he died 2 weeks later due to complications. He had the surgery, but just didn't come out of it. And then just, you feel like I didn't feel like I was drowning. I felt like I was underwater.
Right.
But I was still just kind of being persistent and being determined and never giving up because I had my vision. I had my why. So when I started coaching, I had a why. My why was I wanted flexibility in time and location. I wanted to be able to live anywhere in the world and work anywhere in the world. And I didn't lose sight of that. And I had a lot of friends. Or actually, and my daughters were absolutely amazing.
Beautiful.
And then in April, my mom died. She had due to complications. So it was just a whirlwind.
Right.
And then in June is when I left a relationship. So it was, I remember that exactly. Yeah.
It's a full house.
It was a full house.
There.
Oh, it was. So I was living up north.
She was like, I've been dumped, I'm going.
Yeah, exactly. So my dad died, my mom died, I left a relationship. And so we moved back to Mississauga, myself and my 2 daughters, and, started all over again. And I remember July, I was working with, I had 3 clients that day on the telephone, and I don't really know how I did this, but I had, client in the morning, then I had about an hour break, and I cried that entire 60 minutes. And then I pulled myself together, and I had the second client. Same thing, and I got off the phone, and then when you're coaching, you're like a sponge, right? You take it in, and you got to release it.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So it's the same thing, and then the third client, and then by the end of the day, I was just spent. And then I realized, I need to start taking care of myself.
On that note, we're going to hold on for now from all that. I like what has gone on so far. We've talked about the fact that we've gone down and we've come up. Mm-hmm. And through all of that, we have to go into our own courage. We have to find our own courage to be able to take the next step, which requires even more energy. If you thought you were using up energy, the next step requires more energy. So what I'm saying to whoever is watching this show, be it at home, be it in the office, wherever you are, you need to go back and find your own courage. You cannot put a lid on your courage. You can't. You have to keep cranking it up. We'll be right back. Be encouraged, be inspired. Thanks. So welcome back to our conversation. I always wish people were here to listen to the in-between, you know, as we laugh and stuff in between and say all the things. But anyway, we bring you the best. At the end of the day, the Anna Aidoo Show is just about bringing you the best. So that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, you can go deep within yourself, no matter what you're going through, because I believe we'll all make it. But sometimes we just need a little help. So, you know, those days when, you know, things are really, like, really, really bad, just sit at your computer, turn us on, pick any of the shows, because for sure there'll be encouragement in there. But we're going to go back to Odette, because she didn't finish her story, and we had to take a break. So it's back to you, lady. We're listening.
Where to leave off? Well, the biggest problem for me going through all of that, as well as the emotional grief, I actually wasn't grieving at that point. I didn't really know what was going on inside my head emotionally. It was, when your parents die, it's it's like your history.
Yes.
It's like you're cut off at the knees.
Right.
And you don't realize that until obviously you go through that. And
it's called the bottom fell off.
yeah, exactly. And there were a couple of times I literally, I felt that the stress was so bad that I remember having something go down with my sister about, you know, the estate and things like that. And I looked, and it was like I had hit a wall. Mm-hmm. And I thought, if I keep going this direction, there's no going back, you know. It was like that nervous breakdown feeling, and I thought, I can't do that. And I remember physically taking a step back. And I remember that moment, and I'll never forget that moment, because I know how easy it is to fall off the deep end.
Right.
How easy it is, or maybe not easy. It happens to the best of us.
Right.
And so the stress manifested itself in physically. And I'm a very active person, and I would work out on a daily basis. I ended up, the fatigue was getting so bad, and then the stress was getting so bad that I had 2 pinched nerves in my neck on either side of my neck. And I literally woke up one day and I wasn't able to move my arms. So this was back, I think, sort of March, and I started to lose the feeling in my arms, and then I started to lose the ability to use them. So I would wake up, literally unable to move started up about the top of the head, so the neck, I couldn't move my neck, I couldn't move my arms.
And in all of this, you have 2 girls to take care of.
Exactly. Now, they're 13 and 15, and they're absolutely amazing. They did have to grow up a little faster, but they've been amazing, pulling me through. The physical side, I wasn't able to do anything. But here I am, I have to pack, I have to move, I have to have a business. I couldn't type. And you don't just stop a business because you can't do things. And I would type with my hands, I just found a way to do it.
Just found a way to do it.
Found a way to do it.
Just found it. Because the other thing also is, I believe if we can find a way to be miserable, we can find a way to be happy.
Yeah, it's so true.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point. It's a good way of putting it.
What I like about your story, though, is it's not uncommon in terms of the fact that people, and people will say mostly women, but men do this too, it's just in a different way, that they really, there's a place where we get caught up in the downside of what's going on in our life, and sometimes that spirals you down to a point of paralyzed. I had a friend who got arthritis immediately when her two parents died, because she's spent all this time taking care of them and forgot to take care of herself.
Right.
And we've heard it a million times, you have to put yourself first, but there's real truth to that, because people will get physically ill if they don't.
If they don't.
So it's just, I think in there's a chapter about going to a spa or doing something for yourself, right? Like whatever that is.
Right.
But it's really important so that you don't get to that paralyzed place, literally the paralyzed place, because your body can't take anymore.
It can't take, and I've actually experienced that, where it was a very long, stressful time. I ended up in the hospital, and they kept telling me, we don't know what is wrong and this and that. But every day they came in, they said something about, this is enlarged, that is enlarged. And I kept losing weight. I mean, my whole life, I've been trying to jog and this and that to lose the weight. But here I was, nothing was working. I mean, I would walk in the morning, I would see the cake and just look the other way and go and eat some celery. Not that I wanted to eat the celery, but I'm trying to lose the weight. But here I was in the hospital, and every day I seemed to lose a little weight, to the point where people wouldn't even recognize me. But after I went through the doctors going on and on about, we don't know what is wrong with you, and this, I realized what it was. I was living a very stressful life, and it took a toll on my body. You know what I mean? So I know what you're talking about. But here, one of the topics I liked is putting together a grief team. Assemble a grief team.
Yes.
And you say the best time to make friends is before you need it. One of the funniest things I liked in there was the fact that people sign prenup, not because they plan to get divorced, but at least they're prepared.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think we're afraid to accept that we're miserable.
Yes.
Right? So assemble a grief to speak a little bit more on that. Because I believe sometimes when we talk about our issues, it's not supposed to be perfect.
Well, here's the thing. It's if there's something going on with you that is really traumatic, or really you're having trouble and you're struggling with it, if you talk to the same person about this on and on ad nauseum, you really are going to kill that friend. I mean, really, with your downer, and it's going to get to a point where they don't even want to talk to you anymore. So the grief team concept is really about having a different person on every day to talk to.
Right.
So it could be, a mother, a sister, a coach, a friend, a neighbor, whatever. It doesn't matter who it is, but you've got somebody there on each day, so that nobody minds giving up one day a week to have an hour, a cup of tea, and talk about your issues, right? You don't want to do that every day as the friend. It doesn't matter how close you are as that friend. You don't want to be on that program.
No.
So it's better to have all these different people. And the best example I can give you is my mom. When my dad passed away in '97, my mom, not of the Stoic generation where you didn't ask for help at all, and I encouraged her to do that. She has lots of really great friends, so I encouraged her to do the 7-day thing, and so she implemented it, and I think it really helped her a lot. She came to me afterwards. I said I never would have thought of that, because she just didn't want to burden anybody. Right? Well, nobody's burdened with an hour a day or an hour a week.
Right. But the thing I like about that chapter as well is you made the point where you said by the end of the 7th day, you'll be tired of hearing your own story. Yeah. It's like, okay, now get with the program.
Yeah.
Because sometimes I think we get too happy hanging on to the same boring story. Not to say that the issue is not really affecting us, but how do we go to the next level where we start picking up, where we start enjoying life again, where we start, because it really bothers me when we're not enjoying life. I think life is to be enjoyed.
Well, the problem is when you talk about the same thing over and over again, it keeps you in it. That's the problem. So it becomes a habit. It's like, reaching for the cake or the carrots, or whatever it is you do every day, it becomes that habit. The dialogue becomes habitual. So it's really important to be conscious that you're doing it and stop yourself and then do something totally different. And by different, I mean, change where you are. Go to the gym. Go meet some new people. There's I talk about in the book about, it's really important to go places where people don't know your story. Because if I'm sitting here with you and I've never met you before, I'm not going to start in with Bob left me yesterday, right? I mean, you're not going to start with that.
He ditched me. I didn't do nothing.
Exactly.
He left.
So you're going to start with stuff that's like, oh, what do you do? How are you? Da-da-da. And it takes you out of that place. Because so it
transports you to a whole different level.
And you might make some new friends and do new hobbies and things like that because of it. So
and you change the reoccurring conversation that you have in your head.
Because after a while, it's like, you know what? It's not you again, dude.
I know.
What are you doing?
I know.
I like this one too. It says cry.
Yeah.
Rich tears. What power lies in those falling drops? I love it. I tell people, boo-hoo the head out.
Yeah.
Cry. Don't care. Pull out a box of tissues. Cry till you can't cry no more. Because after a while, the tears itself will stop.
Yes, absolutely.
Why do you find it important that we cry? And make it plain.
Make it plain?
Make it plain to everybody that I'm crying.
Okay, yeah. It's really important because crying is like, if you think about if you went into a steam room and you're purging all that like nastiness that's in your body, the same thing when you're crying. When you cry, you're purging your emotion. And so it's really important to do that, and you will exhaust yourself. So it helps you sleep because you're exhausted, right? You're lying on the floor crying, you can't do it anymore, tears dry up, and you're just tired now, which is a good thing because you probably have trouble sleeping if you're in this state. So then it helps you sleep.
Right.
And it's okay to cry. I mean, it's okay to have those moments of poor me, my life sucks, I'm going to sit on the floor and cry. Because that is a way of releasing anxiety. Have you ever seen the movie Broadcast News? Do you remember that old movie, Broadcast News?
Yeah.
I haven't
Holly
seen.
Hunter's in this movie. And she plays this crazy producer who's just all over the place. And her life is like this. And then every now and then she sits in a hotel room and she just starts crying. And then she gets up the next day and she's at it again. And it was the greatest example that I can think of how good it is for you.
Okay.
Because it just lets it go.
So here's a good one. What if the tears don't come anymore?
I mean, when you finish crying?
Like, after a while, it's like, no matter how much you try to cry. Because I've been trying that lately. I've been like...
A little lemon in your eyes? You don't need to cry.
You want to cry from your stomach. Like, oh.
You don't have to force it.
And it's not coming. What do you do? Because... here we are, 30 ways. Now we have to find ways to put things in here. Yeah. What if the tears won't come anymore? What I'm finding is that, like sitting here with you both, having this conversation. It's a TV show, but it's just another two women that I'm sitting down with, having a conversation. We're being able to laugh. So this is another way of me finding a way, like you're saying, to, don't stay in the difficulties of the everyday life. But like you said, maybe the gym, find a friend, find somebody. So those are some of the little ways that we can do that. Do you have any more to add to that?
Other tips, you mean?
Yeah.
Gosh, yeah. I think there's 30 of them, isn't there?
I like this one to act, don't react.
Yeah, that's a biggie. Don't do anything in the first year. I always say that to people because when you are acting emotionally from something, it's a rebound place, right?
Right.
So whether it be a relationship you want to get into, or you want to move your house, and you're going to dye your hair purple, or whatever that is, you're reacting to something that's happened to you. So and I always say sit back, breathe for a year. Wait it out, let yourself settle, and then start making decisions because there'll be smarter ones. Right. So yeah, that's definitely a biggie.
Oh. And Odette, Women on Top. I like these CDs that you have here. The titles are just, you ladies are killing me. This one is, how big is your butt? We'll be back on that one. And then is your networking more like not working? Because sometimes you run around town, you go everywhere, and at the end of the day, you're exhausted, you spent money, nothing came out of it. Maybe that's this one. high heels in high places. I love it. I'm working on wearing more high heels, you know. But can you break? But every time I wear the high heels, I have my little flip-flops on the side.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, after you impress, then you have to get real.
Absolutely.
So let's touch on the how big is your butt? What is that about?
How big is your butt is the 7 ways we sabotage our own success. It is the mindset crap that we have going on. And it usually started probably when we were 5 years old. And it's very clear when you're in high school. A girl in high school is just like, you know, not a pretty place. It's so the 7 ways are: we compare ourselves, we compare our success to other people, and we find ourselves lacking.
Right.
We're afraid to be judged. We're afraid of what people are going to think. We are resistant to change. And the biggie is that I don't get, but a lot of people have this, is that inability to make decisions.
Right.
And so you stay in indecision all the time, which is really a decision.
Right. Because you decided to stand still.
To do nothing.
To do nothing.
Exactly, yeah. So when I sat down to write, for my business, I wanted to write a guide, something to start getting the business going and getting people inspired. I sat down, and I don't know how I came up with the idea. I remember just sitting on the couch, and women, girls, whatever, we always look in the look in the mirror with another mirror. I think and you're looking at see how big your butt is. We all do it. We've all done it. Maybe we don't do it now.
We still do
but
it.
We have all do it. Yes. And it is such a focal point for us.
Yes.
The size of our butt, but we won't look at our imperfection. We look at that as an imperfection, but when we don't look at our excuses that stand in the way of our success, whether it be a business success or a relationship or a life decision.
Right.
We make excuses, and these are the excuses that stop us. It's not it's not knowing how to build a business. It's not the marketing. Mm-hmm. I didn't know anything about online marketing. I learned how to do it. So you have to rewire, just like you were saying. It's that reoccurring conversation that you have in your head. Oh, I'm just not good enough. I'm just not good enough. I'm just not good enough.
So you're saying get unstuck.
Get unstuck. Change the conversation that you have in your head. So I'm a perfect example. I mean, I wrote the guide, and I obviously had those 7 big butts. Actually, I had 15, and
this is what I
took
love,
it down to 7.
about the Women's Courage Awards. And it's so funny. And the more we do it, the more I realize we need this even more.
Yeah.
You will go up to a woman who has given so much to not only a family, but to her community, and left herself out, right? Mm-hmm. And when you go, you're being honored for this. She almost looks stunned. Mm-hmm. And I will tell you, every time these women want to run away. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So talking about our own butts, we feel like we're out there to give, but not to accept when we're being honored for. But we'll be back on that in a few minutes with this conversation. I think we need about 3 more days for this one. But we'll be back soon. We'll be talking about high heels in high places. It works. It works. See you soon. Be encouraged. Be inspired. Thank you. So we're back with Caird and Odette. Actually, I'm just going to skip the actual topic of this book and get to the subtitle. Is that the subtitle?
Yes.
How to rally after you've been dumped. Dumped. I'm serious about that. How to rally. If you don't know where to find this book, please check it online. Anything. But you need to find this book because at one point or the other in our lives, all of us have been dumped. Nobody, I can tell you that nobody can escape. Even death. When death occurs in your family, you've been dumped.
Yeah.
So please, don't excuse yourself. Talk about, I haven't been dumped before and everything.
Yeah.
We have all been dumped. And so, instead of paying all that serious money for therapy, get this one. This one is like, what's that book? The book for dummies.
Oh,
This
yeah,
one
this is the dumping book for
Oh,
dummies.
yeah.
That's right.
This is the dumping books
That's
for dummies. I was
exactly right.
telling my husband the other day, I need to find a book on how to succeed. I do not want an encyclopedia. I do not want a novel. I want the book that says, go here, turn right, pick up this.
It's coming.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Don't talk to me about the studies have been done and this and that. I don't have time for that. So wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whether you're, because this show, friends, I have friends all over the world, you know, they go on there and you click it. You need to get this book. If it has to be shipped to you, get it, because I think that will solve all your problems. If it doesn't, we'll find a way to send Caird to you. That will cost you a lot of money. But again, we're back to finding one's own courage. This is our last segment, and all I want to say as we do the shows with the Anna Aidoo Show is that each one of us have to find our own courage wherever we are. Be it here in Canada, in the US, in Africa, wherever we are, courage is the underlying factor that will take us from point A to point B. After we've been dumped, courage is what will help us dig out of the dump to come up. And so we're going to go back to you, Odette. You also talked, I like this one too, high heels in high places. Tell us a bit about that.
High heels in high places. Actually, I changed the name to profit domination.
Okay.
In business, women who are in business, a lot of the times they think that they're in business for other reasons other than money. But the bottom line, it is about money. It's about making money. It's about making profits. So the high heels and high places started off as it's a teleseminar that I've written, and it's about answering the 5 questions, like why are you doing what you're doing? Who are you doing it for? How are you doing it? Where are they? And all of that kind of stuff. Like how do you find your ideal client? How do you find your money-making client? So that's what that series is about. And then I started realizing that it was the focus needed to be on money, the bottom line. I think Caird and I are quite similar. We're bottom line people. You can have a business and it's great and you're doing it because you're passionate and you love it and makes you go woo woo kind of thing. But the bottom line is that if you're not feeding your family and keeping a roof over your head and all of that kind of stuff, that's what it comes down to. So if you're going to be in business and you're going to be taking the time and the energy to build a business and you don't want a job and you want the business because you want the balance in life and all of that kind of stuff, then you got to think of the profits. You've got to think of the bottom line.
Because at the end of the day, without the money, you're going to be flat back. You're going to be on
It's called charity.
I mean, we're in
It's
business.
called charity. And after a while,
it's not a
charity is not
business.
funny anymore.
Yeah.
Well, that's why I call it profit domination, and
Okay.
otherwise it's a not-for-profit, right? If you're doing, if you're working, and if you're struggling to build your business, you need to take a look at 2 things. You need to take a look at how big is your butt, and you got to marry that with the skills. What are you doing? The day-to-day, deliberate, consistent, regular activities that are building your business. You don't have time to have excuses. So maybe that's what made me successful with this business in the last year and a half, is because I just stopped caring about the excuses that I had. I just didn't have time anymore.
For it.
Too
You
much
didn't
was going
have time
on.
for excuses.
No, I had a business to build.
You had children to raise. You had a home to run.
Right. And when you're starting all over again, I mean, a lot of people have started over and it's not easy. It's tough to
No.
start all over again. And the never give up attitude, I think, is what made me survive, what I came out the other end. And I look back at the last 2 years and I think, wow, have I ever come a long way? And I owe it to my grief team. Actually, I have one friend who just I'm surprised she hasn't dumped me. Really, I think I got the warning the other day. If you do this again to me, I'm
gonna
dumping you.
use you.
Yeah. So so that's where it all comes
It's when
from.
she comes back and says, remember all those days I spent helping you?
Oh, yeah,
Well,
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
my turn.
Yeah,
Way back
absolutely.
time. So your business also is Women on Top,
Yeah.
right? Where did that title come from, and where is it going? You know what I mean? Like when you say Women on Top, I'm thinking, you know what I mean? But explain it so that if there's a woman sitting at home thinking, okay, I want to be on top. I've been on the bottom long enough, broke, busted, disgusted. Now I need to be on top.
That's right.
Why should that person come to you, and what is it all about?
Well, when I first started Women on Top, I was in a landmark education course, and I don't know if anyone's familiar with landmark, but I found that very helpful for me and my business. And I was in a program called the Self-Expression and Leadership Program, and from there, in that program, you develop a seminar or something. Sorry, I developed the seminar, but people go out and do amazing, amazing things that have a global impact. And I was just thinking about maybe running a seminar for women who want to start a business. Because back in 1993, I had a business that I started with just from a whim, and I know how hard it is to do this. And I want other women who have a passion to start something to really get the skills as well as the mindset in order to make it successful.
Right.
So I had asked the group for a name, and this one lady, no one came up with a name until I sat down, and she said to me, she just leaned over and says, Women on Top. And I said, pardon? She goes, you're a woman on top. I said, well, what do you mean? And she said, well, you're audacious, you have tenacity, you don't give up, you're determined, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. And I went, yes, and you feel it in here.
Yes.
I went, yes, this is it. So it started off as a business/life coaching. I don't know if you did this when you opened up your doors, but you kind of take anybody and everybody, and you don't really, until you start working it,
Right.
you're not really sure.
You got to
which
figure out
direction.
who's coming towards
Exactly,
you too.
yeah.
'Cause
Right.
people will pick you.
Yeah.
So, and
So-
your business is New Road
Yes.
Coaching.
Yes.
So, Women on Top is about, you want to come up to the next
Business
level.
coaching now. It's
Strictly
strictly
business
business
coaching,
coaching.
'cause you
Life
don't
comes
wanna-
into play, but it's not the other way around. It's not life issues and then business. It's business,
It's business strictly.
strictly business, and then
Bottom
of course,
line.
life stuff is all part of it. But you
But
want to
it's
build
business.
a business, you come to me.
Right.
Or you.
Because we need the business to succeed. We need
Yeah.
the business to succeed.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Because without it, if there's no money coming, you cannot go for. And yours is New Road. But why did you pick the title New Road?
Well, I love cars, and I'm a bit of a car fanatic.
What
so-
kind of car do you have?
Oh, do you really want me to tell you?
Yeah,
what
we
kind of
do.
car?
We
I
do.
saw it out the parking
A
lot.
nice one, huh?
Oh yeah.
I have more than one actually.
We should come and visit you.
But
That's
anyway,
what we should do.
I like cars. I've raced cars a little bit, and I just and anyway. So that's when I
The
was
money
trying to
with
come
power.
when I was trying to come up with what I would like the company to be called. I came up with about 8 different names, and New Road was one of them. And then what I did was I sent that out to all my male friends. We were talking in the break about keeping the men close to you as well when you're building a business. And I sent them out to all my male friends who owned their own businesses. And I asked them to pick their favorite and send it back to me. And New Road floated to the surface consistently as the top choice. So I said, okay, well, then that's the name of it, because it's about cars. It's about road, being on a road, being
Right.
new and all that kind of thing. And then it's just seemed to be the name
I
that
like
hit.
the inspiration that comes out of, because sometimes you hear a title and it speaks something to you. New Road and Women on Top. I know every woman. I don't care where you are, who you are. You want to be on top. Well, at least that's what I think. You know what I mean? I believe that each one of us has a desire to do better and be better. That's my thinking. I don't know about everybody else, but I like both titles. So since this show is about finding one's own courage, and between the two of you, we cannot put money on how you found the courage to go on and on and on. And I'm sure there are bigger and better things coming up. What would you, Caird, and then you, Odette, say to somebody out there? Because constantly, just this week, I was telling my family, there was a young girl that she just wants to leave. She just wants to leave. And no matter what I ask her, no matter what I say, she's stuck on leaving. Like she does not want to hear it. Meanwhile, as I'm talking to her, I'm realizing that fear has just crippled her. Some things have happened to her that it's just making her want to run. I'm sure there are many. I come across so many people like that as I go around in community and as I talk to people. So what would you say to a person who feels like the next thing is just going to choke them, like the next event is just going to take them out? Or what do I say to that person to make them, like, come on?
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on I don't know the circumstance of why she wants to leave,
Right.
whether it's an abusive relationship, whether she's stuck with her parents. I don't know what the situation is.
Right.
They would play out a little bit differently, obviously. But, I think it's really about trying to figure out who you are, first of all, as a person, and what you get excited about. And then you got to figure out what you're afraid of. Like, really, what does that look like? And if it's an abusive relationship and you're afraid of the guy, and you don't want to leave because of that, then it's about creating that team of people who can help support you to try to get you out of there. Because here's the thing about bullies. I wrote a blog about this not too long ago.
Did you see that? Here's the thing about bullies. I have a feeling if she's looking at a bully right now, it will not be good.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about bullying comes from insecurity. So the problem is if you're faced with a bully type personality, you believe that. You believe that the bully is powerful, but in reality, they're actually quite weak. It's showing up as bullying.
Right.
So there's a place to just meet that head on and walk right through it. Now, I'm not suggesting that if someone is in an abusive marriage that they go right at the person that's not what I'm suggesting. But I'm just saying, know what it is, know what's driving it, and it might not be as scary for you if you're trying to get away.
Right.
But so it's hard for me to say because I don't know the circumstance. Because I don't know the circumstance because they would play out differently. If it's a kid who's trying to get out of their house, again, that comes down to
every
self-esteem.
situation has its own answer. It's not a generalized answer for everybody.
It's all specific. The one thing that is in common across the board, regardless of whether you're a high net worth businessman or you're a stay-home mom or in an abusive relationship or you just graduated from university, the one thing that is common across the board is self-worth. That's what it comes down to. And so everybody has that threshold, I call it the fear threshold. It is where your self-worth hits that place of your aspirations, and you can't get past it because you don't feel worthy of achieving it. And I don't care who you are, it always comes down to that.
And I agree 150%.
So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, where do they go? Website?
Website, phone, yeah. My URL, Women on Top, was taken by something a little more risque, so it's businesswomenontop.com.
I was going to say that earlier, but I didn't go there.
Everybody says it. When I say Women on Top, the guy goes, oh yeah.
Oh!
Women go, oh yeah, women on top.
You want to be a woman on top, people.
Yeah, exactly. So it's businesswomen on top.
People remember it because of that.
Exactly.
That's good.
So now you changed it.
No, it's businesswomen on top is the URL.
Okay.
But it's actually when I registered the name Women on Top, the Revenue Canada wouldn't allow that. I had to come up with another, add some stuff to it. So I said I think that I don't even know what it is. Women on Top of business enterprises or business directions or something.
Why wouldn't they allow it?
Because it's too it's rude. It's risque. It's innuendo. That kind of thing. So
what is a specific website that people can find you at?
Businesswomenontop.com.
Right.
Businesswomenontop.com. So we're all strictly about business. Of course, life issues come in there, but the main thing is about focusing on the business so that you can bring in the income to be able to do what you want to do.
Exactly.
The freedom to be able to live the life that you want. So again, it's finding one's own courage. There's one topic here which I loved. The gift of giving. We make a living by what we get. We make a life by what we give. So I want us to end the show.
That's not my quote, by the way.
I know.
Okay.
I know, but I love it.
Yeah.
Winston Churchill, former British Prime Minister.
It was Churchill who said that.
And I like these first two sentences. By now, thanks to powerful advocates like Oprah Winfrey, we should understand the value of giving, right? So we've talked about the struggles in the business and everything. What role does giving play in our healing? And we're going to wrap up soon. But whatever we're doing, maybe you can say a little bit about giving to round it all up.
Yeah, I mean, giving is a critical part to whatever you do. And I think people think it has to be on a grand scale. It doesn't. I mean, it could be as simple as I had laryngitis last week. My sister dropped off some food and ran away from the house. It's like, knock the door. Here's your food. I'm out of here.
I'm out.
Yeah, but I mean, that's a gift, right? And the thing about giving is that I think the misconception about giving is that giving is a very selfish act, very selfish, because the person who's giving is the one who's getting, and that's why giving is so great in terms of making yourself feel better. That's why it's an important part of life. Because if I give you something, I walk away thinking, God, I feel good about that, right?
It does.
And so do you, but it's about me now, right? So
really. Yesterday, a lady, an older lady, I did something for her, and I was like, thank you, ma'am. Have a nice day. You enjoy what you're going to do. She stopped, turned, looked at me, and she goes, you're a very nice person. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
You're a very nice person. Her eyes teared, and mine too. Because it felt good.
Yeah.
I spoke to her gently and gave her the respect that she deserved and everything. So wherever you are, this topic, today's show has been about finding one's own courage. So don't sit on your courage. Whatever it is, find that team that can support you. Find somebody who's been where you are, who can tell you you're not going to lose your mind, you're going to be okay. It's been fun talking to both Caird and Odette. This is not going to be the end, because whatever it is that these two ladies are on, Miss Anna wants to find out and be on it too. So I'll be back with them again, talking to them, laughing with them, enjoying life with them, and all of us going to success together to impact the next generation. So ladies and gentlemen, again, it's the Anna Aidoo Show. Today's show is finding one's own courage. Be encouraged, be inspired, and we'll see you soon. Thank you.